Hey guys, Jesse's Tripling with J&S Migrators out of West Tennessee. Want to hop on here today and do something a little different. I've been thinking about doing this for a little while and just thought I'd sit down this afternoon and try to knock it out. There's probably going to be a part two to this, but everybody always asks, what's the story behind J&S Migrators? And that story, it takes a minute to tell. I get asked a bunch in duck blinds. I probably tell it 10, 15 times a year to hunters that ask me, say, hey, Jesse, where'd J&S Migrators start? How did you get where you are now? And, what's the history behind it? And I think the story's a pretty cool story, so I want to kind of share it. Some of you's probably heard it if you hunted with me, like I said before, but the ones that haven't are the ones that you really just don't know us from a personal level. We wanted to share our story. I started duck hunting when I was 4 years old. My daddy, my granddaddy, all big duck hunters, and I can remember at 4 years old, getting pushed across a big body of water and a boat because they didn't want me on the ice, but they put the boat on top of the ice and would just push me to the duck blind. And some of those memories as a kid are some of the best memories that I've ever had, and they'll probably stick with me for the rest of my life, which I know they will. And that fire, at 4 years old, 5 years old, I mean, I can remember like yesterday. It never let off, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I think I knew in probably seventh grade that, look, this is something that I've got to do. I want to do something in the wildlife industry. It was the only thing that made me happy. If I got left behind because I had to go to school, I was not a happy person. All I wanted to do was duck hunt. When I was in school, all I could think about was duck hunting. I can remember getting out of school and running home and asking my dad, so how many y'all kill today? How many did you get? And if they got them, I'm mad. I want to go tomorrow. And of course, they want me in school, but I always got to skip some days to go hunting. And so, when I come out of high school, I had, like any person coming out of high school, I had to pick what I wanted to do. And, they're always a little bit indecisive on what you want to do, but, I made the decision to go to UT Martin. And when I enrolled in UT Martin, I knew that the wildlife field was something I wanted to be in. I went to school and tried to get a major in wildlife biology. At the time, I was thinking about being a game warden. Just for my love of being outside and the wildlife, and the law enforcement side of things, a game warden was where I was headed. Through UT Martin, my senior year, I met my wife, Casey, and we fell in love, and how she did this, I'll never know. She got me to get married in January, which everybody knows in Tennessee, January is prime duck hunting. And I get tickled because we've never celebrated an anniversary during January, ever, that I can remember, because I'm always in a duck blind. So, we wait till February to celebrate our anniversary every year. But we ended up getting married. I took a job outside the wildlife field. I worked there for a very short amount of time. I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew that this is not what I was meant to do. So at the time, I had saved up, I think, around $4,000 or $5,000 in a 401k in a short amount of time of working there. And I had grew up hunting West Tennessee. I had started hunting Northeast Arkansas back in my early college years, and so I took that $4,000 or $5,000, and I told Casey, I says, I'm going to be a duck guide. I've done this my whole life. I can do it. Of course, everybody in the world tells you can't do something, and I'm a firm believer that anything that you work at and you want bad enough, you can do it. And so I took that $4,000 or $5,000, and at the time in Arkansas, you could lease a pit for that amount of money. I think pits then was around $5,000 or $6,000. So I went and leased my first duck pit with my little bit of 401 money. I was putting my guys, I was booking them into a hotel that was right about 10 minutes from the farm that we were hunting. And this is all me by myself at this point. I had no other guides, no helpers, no anything. I was moving away from home for 3 or 4 months out of the year. I get tickled where I come from at that time compared to where we are now, because what I did is I went and I rented, it was an old post office in Etowah, Arkansas. And I took that old post office. It was one little bitty room. It had one little bitty bathroom and it had a sink. It wasn't even a kitchen. It was just a sink there. It was old, and I rented that, and for quite a few years, that's where I stayed. I'd meet my hunters at the field every morning. I was living up there 3, 4 months out of the year, plus through the summer, going up there and working. I just knew I had to do something, and even living like that for 3 or 4 years that I was there, I was happy. I was doing what I love to do. I was getting to meet some incredible people. Actually, some of the first clients that I've had since that very first year, which we're on our 16th season now, they are still hunting with me today. And so that shows you what kind of people you get to meet, guiding duck hunts, and just the memories you get to make. So going into that, I guess maybe 3, 4, 5 years into that, there was a lodge that I found on Craigslist. At the time, that's when Craigslist was a thing. Everybody was on Craigslist. And I just clicked on it one day. It was during the summer. It said Duck Lodge. And there was a guy that had took an old barn, and he turned it into a really nice duck lodge, and it was for rent. And it was about 30 minutes from where I was staying in Arkansas, but it was in southeast Missouri. So I went down there and took a look at it. At the time, the rent to me was a lot of money. I was like, oh, can I do this? But I knew I wanted a lodge. I just feel like having a lodge is the full experience. And so, I'm still running one big group a day. That's all I'm doing at that time. And I said, I'm going to start a duck club along with my guide service. So this duck club, when I took this lodge on, I was running my hunters through that lodge. Plus I had a bunch of extra rooms, so I started a duck club. And that duck club grew rapidly, way faster than I ever wanted it to. And it got bigger, way bigger than I ever wanted it to. So we went in, I guess, I don't know, we went 3, 4, 5 years, maybe something like that, with a duck club along with the guide service. At that time, we started picking up ground in southeast Missouri too. So I was hunting both states. I was hunting right there on the state line, but I was hunting Arkansas and Missouri. Made a few connections in Missouri, at least my first couple pits over there. At the time, I wanted to kind of break away from the club. It was getting to be, it was a lot to manage with the club, plus me trying to grow my guide service. The guide service was growing pretty rapidly at this point. So we decided to kind of give the club scene up, and I also decided to go strictly southeast Missouri. It was getting complicated with buying 2 sets of license for my hunters, because we may hunt both states while you're here. We may just hunt one state, and but that was hard to tell them beforehand on which license to buy, and it was getting expensive to them too, having to buy 2 different state licenses. So I let the club have some pits that I had leased out at the time. I think we were up to about 10 pits on that last year that I had. I kept me 2 or 3 of the pits that I loved, and I was going to guide out of those pits. I let my club take the rest of them. Well, we went on another year or two. We started growing the guide service, started bringing the guys in to help me a little bit, running 2 groups a day at this point. And I said, hey, I'm ready to build a duck lodge. We've been renting this one quite a few years. Things are working, things are growing. So I went down the road. I bought an acre of ground. It was about 12 minutes from this lodge. I bought, I think it was an acre and a half. And I was going to build a lodge on it. We started blueprints on it. I had a gentleman from Arkansas that was going to build it for me. And during this process, before we broke ground, there was a farmhouse that come up for sale. And this farmhouse was in a location that I really wanted to be in. There was some good hunting at the time right through there. So we decided to go over to this farmhouse. I've got some pictures of this place, and it's really unreal what we've done to it, the before and afters. But I bought that place. We turned a shop into this big, nice mud room. We added on to the house, inside and out. We redid it. Made a very, very nice lodge. I think it would sleep somewhere around 25, 30 people. And, once we built that lodge, we seen the growth really start with J&S Migrators. So at this point, I'm starting to run 3 groups a day. We're slowly building every year. And we kept that for a lot of years in southeast Missouri, and a lot of good memories over there. But, there was a few reasons for making the move to West Tennessee. And I know a lot of people say, well, hey, Jesse, why'd you move to West Tennessee? There was a couple of reasons. There was getting to be a lot of pressure over in that area. Still a great area to hunt, but just a lot of pressure. And the other thing is my little boy. If you follow me on social media, my little boy Cannon, he means the world to me. And Before he started school, him and Casey could come over there and see me 3 or 4 days a week. They could stay with me. We stayed in that old post office and, the other lodge. But when he started having to go to school and get in kindergarten, he wasn't able to be there with me as much as he was in the past before he got on to start school. And I knew West Tennessee, it's not a big secret. Everybody knows West Tennessee is phenomenal hunting. And in my opinion, I think it's better than anywhere you can go right now. I think the northwest part of Tennessee, as far as the hunting and killing mallards, is just absolutely wonderful. So that was a reason that we decided to move across the river back into West Tennessee. I knew that if I got in Tennessee, the same thing I'd done for years in Southeast Missouri, Northeast Arkansas, we would just keep growing. We wanted something different. At that time, I wanted a big lodge. I wanted the lodge that I've always dreamed about building. We wanted to start buying farms, and by doing all these things, it puts me back at home at night. Guiding is a tough job. If you've done it, you know it. If you do it full time, it will wear on you. It's a job that I love, and it's a job that I always love. But clocking in 100, 110 hours a week, guiding is easy to do. And at least with being over in West Tennessee, I'm back in my home. I'm back in my bed at night. I may get in the bed late and have to be right back up at 2:33 in the morning. But, I'm home with Cannon. I'm home with Casey. We're back in some of the best duck hunting that you're going to find. We're hunting big, nice, clean blinds. We're back in these cornfields. We're back in the river bottoms. And, a lot of mallards. It's just everything about it is the way I grew up hunting. And it's what I love to do. And we came in, we built this lodge, and if you've seen my lodge, you kind of know that it got built in a short amount of time. A lot of people, I get tickled to ask me, say, there's no way you built this in 6 months. And we actually built it in 5.5, and I was in a pinch. I had sold my lodge in Missouri in the spring. I had to have it in the fall because we were already booking hunts. A lot of times right now, we're booked 2-3 years out in advance. So I built this lodge. It's, I think, a little over 6,300 square feet, heated and cooled. In 5.5 months, we built it from start to finish. And I drove that train as hard as you could drive it. And it's something I'm proud of to get it done that fast. I don't think I ever want to do it again in that much of a hurry. I can tell you that. Somebody asked the other day, said, you going to build another one that quick? I said, no, it's not going to happen. If I build another one, we're going to have a couple of years to build that thing. But it's turned out wonderful. Our hunters love it. We're to a point now in Tennessee. When I got moved over here to build a lodge, I needed a farm to build one on, and I've got a good friend over here. He's a good connection. He's big in the duck hunting side of things, a lot of farms, and I came to him and I said, hey, will you sell me a farm? And the one I want is the one he sold it to. That's where I want to build my lodge, the beautiful river bottom. And we wanted to build a lodge right there. He was gracious enough to sell me a farm and try to help me, to get moved back over here where I need to be. And since then, we have just grown rapidly. We were growing in Missouri, but when we hit Tennessee, we just took it to another level. My team, you hear me all the time talk about them. You're only as strong as your team, and the team I got is strong. These guides, my lodge managers, my cooks, they amaze me sometimes. It being, my outfit business, but they work extremely hard, and it amazes me how loyal and how hard they work, and they're proud to be a part of J&S Migrators, and I'm proud to have them. And with that team and the lodge and, us taking the transition to want to start buying more ground, right now we're over 1,000 acres of on lease ground, and it's going more. I mean, we've got more farms that we're getting ready to purchase, and I've got a long-term goal here. Right now we're over 1,000. I want to be over 2,000 in the next 3 or 4 years, and I want to go to 3,000 after that on acres. And I feel like to be an outfitter that offers it all, from lodging to different ways to hunt, different farms, not going to the same spot every day, moving my hunters to different spots. You're there on 4-day hunts, you've hunted 4 different farms. And, I see people see that when they walk in the door with us. They recognize the amount of money is put in this place and the amount of hard work. This place does not start in November and we start working on it and we're ready to hunt in December. It's a 12-month out of the year job, and any outfit business that is good size is that. And you know, it's we're proud of it. I say it all the time. I'm not afraid to say it, and I'll say it to anybody. It's one great place to be, and we're ready for another amazing season. I just kind of wanted to get on here and tell the story of J&S Migrators, and we're gonna have a part 2 coming later this summer. I've got plans for that, and I just thought that we'd share how we got here, what we've done, and maybe kind of get to know me a little bit better if you hadn't already. I look forward to meeting everybody that's coming to hunt this year, my older guys and my new guys coming. Thank everybody for following me on social media. Without y'all, it's great. I mean, you guys are the reason that, you know, that I get on here, because I know you're following me and I know you like to hear our story. And, you know, and there's people who follow us don't even duck hunt. We appreciate you guys too. So if you're looking for a duck hunt, shoot me a text or an email through the website, or give me a call. We have a little bit of availability in December. January is getting thin. I don't think I have, but maybe 5-6 days in January I could hold one more group. I looked this morning on a group that called me, but I do have some December dates. You know, so we're still in good shape. You want to do a December hunt with us? And December's a great time to be here. I've seen times that December can be better than January in Tennessee. It just, you know, depends on the weather. If we get them hard freezes in January, of course, it gets good. But don't be scared to book December. I'd book it all day long because it's just good, solid, average hunting normally. So keep following us. Thank you for everything, and be watching for part 2. See you.